The college football playoff has adopted a new seeding format. Our top 10 kickers and punters, it's our final list of those top 10s that we've been doing over the last 2 weeks. And on top of that, we've got my favorite teams in each Power 5 conference to break out and be the surprise team from the conference, i.e., in Indiana, like we saw last year. So make sure you stick around, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you guys think of everything that gets talked about in this video. Also, as we head into the weekend, I just want to make sure that we understand what this weekend is truly about, and obviously, it's those who've given the ultimate sacrifice, fighting for the freedoms and the really privileges that we get here in the United States, whether that's the beauty that is college football or any sporting event or really anything that you want to be able to do. I mean, we really have it great over here, and there's a lot of people who may disagree. I'm not getting into why or why not, but all I say is we do have it great over here, and it's because of those who have given the ultimate sacrifice and those who have been willing to make that ultimate sacrifice for our country. And it's important that we remember those that we've lost over the course of time fighting for those freedoms. This weekend's not about those who served like myself and many others. It's about those who, again, gave all um, in order to make sure that we stay free here in the United States. And it's super important to me that we make sure we remember that. So thanks to those who have served and all the families and everybody who give up their loved ones, really, for the sake of making sure this country stays the way it is. And it's always appreciated. And yeah, with all that said, no great way to transition off of that, I guess. But it is Armchair Analysis Friday edition here on the channel. We get one more week. We are just over a week out. As a matter of fact, we are 9 days out as we sit right now from the first season preview that we're going to be doing here on the channel. It'll be Florida State, June 1st, all the way until we finish all 67 every single day from, again, June 1st until the end of the previews, which will end with Ohio State at the end. So super pumped to do all that and really excited to go forward with it. It's been a lot of fun getting started with the previews and trying to figure out what's going to make it good, what's going to make them flow really nice. I'm really excited, and I hope you guys will, again, like, subscribe. That way you don't miss any of those. If you're really interested, we go through the entirety of the roster. We talk about everything that happened last year and what led to this season, coaching changes, players departing, players coming in, and who we expect to make a big impact, along with a full-on 12-game record prediction. It's going to be a really good time. It's going to be a grind over the course of the summer, but that's why we are calling it preview season here on the channel. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into today's video. And that is starting with the 12-team college football playoff has a new format. It's no longer going to be the top four teams or top four conference champions get the bye into the quarterfinals. What it's going to be is a straight up seeding system from 1 to 12, which honestly is a really good thing if we think about it. It ultimately creates this, you feel like there was maybe an advantage or even a disadvantage for some of the teams that didn't get the chance that they likely deserved to be a team that had a bye. Of course, we could talk about Penn State being one of those teams. We could talk about Oregon being one of the teams that were really hampered because of who they had to prepare for two different teams that were both capable of beating them. And really, Ohio State was better than eighth in the country. But due to the way that seeding fell, that's how it ended up. Arizona State got a 4 seed, and did they particularly deserve it? No, they were the last bye out of they were the last 4 out of 5 conference champions. So with all of that really said, it only makes sense to kind of reimagine how this is going to look. So the top 4 teams in the 12-team playoff now, and the rankings, will be the 4 teams that get the automatic bid to the quarterfinals. And then it will be ranked straight up from 5 to 12 to determine who goes to what bowl game and who plays who. I mean, it should be done that way. It should be simple. Let's stop. Look, I've made this very clear that I don't like the human element of how we determine who deserves what, and I think that that's going to make this format a little more difficult. But it does simplify things. We don't have to worry about, Clemson, Arizona State, and Boise State, which of those 3 deserve to be the 3 and 4 seeds and who deserves to go wherever they fit into the playoff rankings. We'll see how this progresses and how it goes forward. I have high hopes that it's going to at least make it more competitive and continue to improve the product of the 12-team playoff from what we saw last year, which was good, but there were a handful of games that were just completely lopsided. We'll see how it goes. I'm not speaking very eloquently on this, and honestly, it's simply because I don't think it changes much, honestly. I think we'll see the same teams getting to the end one way or the other, however we really want to put it. So, to me, it feels a little, I don't know if unnecessary is the word, but it just feels a little kind of minute on the scale of college football playoff conversations. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like this format better, or do you prefer the previous seeding where conference championships matter? I'll be looking forward to those comments down below. I'm going to do this in a little different order because I feel like this back end conversation is a little bit more fun than maybe top 10 kickers and punters. So let's go ahead and get through this list of top 10 kickers and punters. I don't have a graphic for you, but you will find it on social medias. You can find those, by the way, down on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. My top 10 kickers and punters going into 2025. I have 3 punters, 7 kickers. Geez, that's not math at all. But anyways, starting at number 10, I got Oliver Straw of West Virginia, one of the best punters in the country last year, and coming back, expecting big things. He goes at number 10. At number 9, I got Nolan Hauser of Clemson. I expect a big comeback. Obviously, Clemson, their biggest concern prior to 2024, outside of the offense not clicking, was also their inability to really have a consistent kicking game. Jesus. A consistent kicker on the roster. It had been a couple of years really where they went through and not really been sure what they were going to have and how they were going to do it. Nolan Hauser goes at number 9 for me. At number 8, I got Jaden Fielding of Ohio State. One of the most consistent guys in college football. Biggest thing that I think hinders Fielding is just what we haven't seen from him is just the distance. Consistently, the kicking from a distance. We'll see how that goes through 2025. At number 7, I got Ethan Crawl of TCU, punter. At number 6, I got Colin Rogers, kicker from SMU. At number 5, I've got Lucas Carnero of Ole Miss. Transfers from Western Kentucky, by the way, one of the highest graded kickers in college football. At number 4, I got Brett Thorson, the punter from Georgia, paired up with number 3, Peyton Woodring, Georgia's kicker. At number 2, I got Drew Stevens, the kicker from Iowa. And at number 1, I have Dominic Zavada from Michigan, which, in my opinion, just the most consistent kicker. He's the highest graded kicker returning in 2025. So all of that proved there. I really don't have much explanation or anything. This is really just a matter of opinion and who we've seen. It's kickers and punters. We love them when they do good for us, and we hate them when they do bad, if we're fans. So personally, I didn't take too much account of this list. I just kind of threw it together, what I thought the top 10 were. So let me know, who did I leave out? Okay, so as we hit the 10-minute mark here, My 2025 surprise teams. Now, I went through the entire Power Four, and I will go through the group of five as well at some point next week and talk about my surprise teams of the group of five. But I wanted to start specifically with the Power Four because I thought there's some interesting conversations and maybe even some interesting, I guess, points of view that I wanted to kind of point out. And forgive me, I'm going to take a drink here. I have four teams, and some of them are going to come off as, well, that's not a surprise. That team, all the big pundits are expecting them to be good. Okay, well, that's fine. However, what I've also seen is fans of college football, some that call themselves diehards and some that call themselves casuals, disagreeing with those names that are, well, certainly bigger than mine and what they believe. So some of these are going to seem a little bit like, man, we're hearing this name a lot. It's because there's legitimacy behind it. Some of these are just being overlooked by the fact that there's other bigger storylines in the conference. So I'm really excited to get through this list. I think these are four of the best surprise teams that you can find in the Power Four. And by the way, these are not predictions for conference champions. These are just simply teams that I think are going to outperform the expectation. Number one, I'm going to start with let's start with the Big 12. I think it's the most wide open. I think this is going to be probably I don't want to say most surprising name you're going to hear here, but Baylor is my surprise team out of the Big 12. They have a lot of returning production. They bring back Sawyer Robertson, make sure I clarify how I spoke that, to lead this offense. You also bring back Bryson Washington, Dawson Pendergrass, both of those guys really solid running backs last year, and both of them really young and experienced last year. As they progressed through the year, both of them improved tremendously. Took a lot of weight off of Sawyer Robertson. That's where we saw Baylor start to improve over the course of the season. They bring in Kobe Prentice at wide receiver to join Josh Cameron. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. And the Dave Aranda defenses, I think we can all agree that we expect a lot of good things out of them. Baylor's a team that might just sneak up and be in the Big 12 championship game at the end of the year. And they're a team that I think people kind of, especially the ones who are really heavy into it, they're looking at Baylor and saying, okay, they could be something. I think they have what it takes to jump over the hoop, but there's teams like TCU in the Big 12, Iowa State, of course, Kansas State. You have Texas Tech, who's getting a ton of love. People expect TCU to be pretty good, myself included. People are expecting, because Mike Gundy's never been, Mike Gundy, when you count them out, they do their best. People are starting to expect this Mike Gundy Oklahoma State team in 25 to be good. Kansas is still in the conversation. The Big 12, and how did I not even mention Arizona State, who just won the Big 12, who's going to be returning a good amount, including their star quarterback, Sam Leavitt. This Baylor team is overlooked and overshadowed by a lot of different storylines, and I think they just might be able to get it done here in the Big 12. Moving forward from Baylor, I have the ACC, and I'm going with Duke in the ACC. The biggest thing is that they've addressed a lot of their needs in the portal and did a really good job, I think, of filling those needs. They have a really solid defense that's returning. We've just finished these lists, and there's a lot of guys from Duke, especially on the defensive side of the ball, on these lists. You look at the offense, and you have Darian Mensah, who's going to step in and take over, and a guy that I think is going to really surprise some people in how good he actually is. He left Tulane, of course, to go to Duke, but Ty Thompson was the future of the Tulane program. Darian Mensah can step in here for the Blue Devils and be a really big part of the offense. The biggest thing here is they also only have one game that I'm really guaranteeing a loss in early on, and that's Clemson on the road at Clemson. Other than that, they have one other proposed ranked opponent, at least at the time of playing, and that's Illinois, week 2 in Durham. That being a home game makes it a little less of a guarantee of an Illinois win and maybe more of a coin flip style of a football game. Duke could be an 8 or 9 win team this year, but just given the schedule that's been placed in front of them, I would say 8 or 9 wins would be appropriate. You also have a lot of talk in this conference about teams, plenty of teams even, above them: Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, Georgia Tech, SMU, even Pitt getting the conversation. I've heard Syracuse in this conversation of being maybe a contender. I think Duke could just come out and be the team that surprises the entire country and the entire East Coast by going out and not winning the conference, but being in contention to maybe play for a championship in Charlotte. I will move on to the Big Ten, and I'm going to put Michigan here. Look, all the talk of the Big Ten is Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon in terms of conference championship. In terms of teams that are going to maybe step up and be the Indiana of last year, you have Indiana still in that conversation. You have Illinois, who's getting a lot of love and a lot of hype. Washington's getting some love. USC's getting some love. Michigan is getting love, but they're just, it still feels like there's a lot of overlooking being done. You see all these playoff graphics coming out, and they have Illinois or they have Indiana. And I think people just don't know what to expect from this Michigan team in 2025. And I'll tell you that I think not knowing what to expect means you likely didn't watch Michigan last year, because their offense was not good, to say the least. No matter who's at quarterback this year, I think we will see an improvement in play calling. Chip Lindsey is a guy that I think a lot of people should have trust in. And what he was able to do at North Carolina the last handful of years, guys like Omarion Hampton, of course, breaking out in that offense, he's going to step up. Justice Haynes, you've got Jordan Marshall, and there's even a few other running backs, I mean, that you could probably play 4 deep at running back if you really wanted to, if you're Michigan. And they all looked really good in the spring game. I know it's just a spring game, call it what you want, but every one of them played really well. Bryce Underwood, I thought, played well in the spring game. He wasn't great, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but he played well, and it was even a step up from last year's offense. And I think there were some things that were kind of just left on the table. A lot of things that, look, we don't need to show you because we don't want to give away what we're going to do going forward. It just feels like there's this group that's ignoring the Wolverines this year and what they have potential to be. We've talked about the offense, and sure enough, the wide receiver room is probably the biggest question once again. But we look at the defense. They were a top 20 defense and scoring defense last year, and really improved. Once Wake Martindale kind of settled into how to call games at the college level, we saw an improvement over, I would say, the last 4 games of the season, if I were without looking at anything. With all of that said, we go into this year, the defense improves, I think, pretty tremendously, especially in terms of an experience standpoint. Sure, you lose Mason Graham, you lose Will Johnson, you lose Josiah Stewart, but there are guys who can step up and be key players on this defense. Beyond that, look at the schedule. At Oklahoma, Ohio State at home. Those are your 2 ranked games, projected ranked games, by the time the season comes to an end. And I don't really think anybody other than maybe Nebraska, again, if we're talking year 3 Matt Rule, maybe Nebraska jumps in there. But that Nebraska game probably won't mean much depending on how the season goes and if there's any adjustments to the Sharon Moore suspension that is expected to be the Nebraska game. I think Michigan's a team that has a ceiling of probably 10 or 11 wins. I would say their natural sitting point is probably 9 or 10. But 10 wins, 11 wins, certainly it's a playoff team, especially if that means you beat one of Ohio State or Oklahoma. I think this is a team that people are overlooking. I'm not saying they're a national championship contender. I certainly don't believe that to be true. But I think they are a team that could make the playoff at the very minimum, or on that fringe of being in the playoffs. Moving on to the SEC, I have Oklahoma. And this is the one that I was kind of hinting at when I said somebody's going to sit here and say, well, everybody's talking about Oklahoma. Yes. But if you look through what casual college football fans are saying about Oklahoma, no, it's just going to be another year. Brent Venables going to be on the hot seat. Those transfers don't mean anything. And those are the people who are going to sit here in November when Oklahoma's sitting at 6-2 or 6-3 and say, wow, I didn't really expect Oklahoma to be that good this year. Where did they come from? Man, what did they do in the offseason that we missed? Well, it was only bringing in an offensive coordinator and Ben Arbuckle, who's been extremely successful wherever he's been. And not only that, they bring his quarterback with him, John Mateer, to take over the quarterback position. You bring in a running back in Jaden Ott, who's going to step into this running back room and improve it, I think, from top to bottom. You have a wide receiver room. I think Deion Burks being healthy for the full season is going to be a big part of it. The offensive line improves because they're more experienced. The defense, we can expect the world out of a Brent Venables defense, and I think get just that. I also think that Ott and Mateer could be possible Heisman contenders in 2025. I mean, if Oklahoma comes out of this season at 10-2 or better, one of these two are going to be in the Heisman conversation. The Sooners are getting all the love on the national scale, but they're not getting talked about enough from the casual scale. And that's exactly why it would be a surprise to the majority of the country to say that Oklahoma could be competing for a spot in Atlanta, but even more so than that, they could be competing for a spot in the college football playoff. So that wraps up my surprise teams from every Power 4 conference. Let me know what you guys think. Who are your teams that you think may come out of nowhere and surprise the country from the Power 4? Super excited for next week. Of course, we'll get the group of 5 in there. I'm going to go through these lists. So back in the Loudmouth Sports days of the college football content being over there, BJ Cam and I went through and did our top, I think, 10 players at each position since 2000 or something like that. I can't remember how many we did, but we did our favorite players at each position since 2000. I'm going to go through those lists and make my adjustments as I feel necessary, because we said we said we were going to come back to it in 2025. I'm the only one doing college football content in 2025, therefore I'm going to go through them. But I'm going to make those adjustments and kind of look at what I think the best players since 2000 were. On top of that, we're going to have, again, that those surprise group of 4 teams. And let me know what kind of content you guys would like to see down below. If you made it this far, just drop a content. Let me know. Drop a content idea in the comments. Let me know what you'd like to see over the next week as we lead up again. June 1st, Florida State preview. That kicks off preview season all the way through as we do every single Power 5 team, including Notre Dame, as we lead up to the season, and even more previews, playoff predictions, and all that stuff in August. And then Monday through Friday content, really Sunday to Sunday content all the way through the season. Super excited to carry it forward, keep it going. I thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you on Monday when we return from the weekend. Enjoy your weekend, holiday weekend. Be safe. We'll see you in the next one.